Welcome to Energy Linguist, a sacred space for awakening souls ready to receive divine transmissions and the raw truth that sets them free. I am Laura Ahern, a spiritual channel and energy translator here to bring through messages from highest guidance to help you hear your inner knowing, reclaim who you are beneath the noise, and live from the truth within. Take a breath. You've found the space where remembering begins. Hello, everyone. This is Laura, the Energy Linguist, and I'm so excited to have you joining me again for this next episode of Energy Linguist Podcast, the space where you come into true remembering as we decode your energy, heal your patterns, and awaken your path through the receiving of these divinely healing transmissions. Thank you so much for being here with me again today. Today is really powerful because divinity wants to take us today even more into an embracing of your power as the creator of your life. So for those of you who were with me on my previous episode, you might already know that divinity is warming us up for some serious consciousness expansion. And I want to help you understand why it matters to be stretching our consciousness right now here on the planet. So today, Divinity wants me to kick off with helping you understand where we are right now during these awakening times on the planet, what that means as it pertains to how you're experiencing the world, and to help to pull you into a more empowered way of perceiving your world. For many of you who have been listening to this podcast or diving into some of the spiritual messages that have been coming through across the globe, you might already be aware that we are currently in the midst of the greatest awakening, the greatest conscious expansion known to man. And it started in 2012, and it's a 20-year period that will come to its conclusion in 2032. Today, divinity wants to point to this specific point in time here on the planet where we are more than halfway through this awakening period to help you understand why certain discomforts are rising in your life, why you might feel like the problem, and how you actually aren't. You're actually one of the builders of this new world. Right now on the planet, we are beginning to shift from what is known as the old world into the new world. And for many of you, you may have seen imagery of two worlds kind of duplicating and then diverging off on two different paths. In fact, if you've heard some of the channeled guidance that's come through before through me, there was a significant specific point in time in which these two paths, one to the old world and one to this new world, started to diverge. And that was in late September of 2024. Since that time, these paths have continued to diverge and split further and further apart as we come into the true creation of this new world. And because this expansion of consciousness is happening as we move from this 3D through 4D into this 5D experience of the new world, it's really important to talk about the fact that we're not actually talking about physical planes. Many of us have a hard time wrapping our minds around what it means to have a new world created, especially knowing that there are many people who will not come to the new world. And there's these questions around, well, will they still be in my life? Will they just disappear? Will I not see them? I don't understand, because we think of it, because we're in our physical human bodies, in a very tangible, material way. But divinity wants me to help you understand that we're not talking about physical planes. The 3D to 5D evolution is actually an expansion of consciousness. And so there's states of awareness and ways of experiencing our reality that are opening up. And so though we're not talking about physical planes, the truth is our physical realities will be substantially different depending on that which we perceive and how we interpret what we're perceiving, which is what they want to talk to you about today. Because many of you who are continuing on this path to the new world and expanding yourself into this 5D consciousness might be feeling a significant amount of resistance from those who do not want to grow. You might be feeling substantial loss and grief of having to let go of the old. Or you might even be experiencing just feeling completely lost and misunderstood. And that's why it's imperative right now that you, number one, hear this message. And number two, I want to invite you into finding and surrounding yourself with your tribe of spiritually aligned people who will help to hold you along this path into the new world. So first, let's dive into talking about what these states of consciousness are, what they look like, so that you can see where you're existing. And first, know that you are probably existing in experience of many different layers of this consciousness, because just like progress is not linear. And this evolution of our consciousness is not either. You might find yourself identifying with multiple layers of this evolution and sometimes kind of swaying between this higher new world way of thinking while also leaning back into the old world ways. And so it's imperative for us to talk to you today about what that looks like so that you can have more awareness around what you're existing in. Because when we're aware, we start to become more empowered to be intentional about how we redirect ourselves or maybe hold space for ourselves during that experience so that we can continue on our journey and not fall victim to getting trapped in the old world ways. And so first and foremost, divinity is holding you here in this moment on this podcast, letting you know you are exactly where you are meant to be, and to help you come to understand that the more of the spiritual information that you're exposing yourself to, the easier this path to peace will be. So let's start off by talking about this 3D consciousness, the old world paradigm. This old world paradigm is actually where the majority of humanity is existing right now. And the reason for this is that they are still stuck in a way of old patterns. They're operating from old world frequencies, which are very much fear-based, self-preservation. It's the survival of the fittest energy. And within that vibration is scarcity, it's lack, right? Because when we have to survive, typically what we're feeling is that I'm not safe, I don't have enough. And what it creates within the vibration is this constant need to control everything. When we are in that state of fear, there is a very, very narrowed perspective of mind that we exist in. In fact, many of the people who are trapped in that old paradigm only feel safe if the rest of the world is agreeing with them on everything. If you believe in the same God that I believe, if you believe in the same values if I believe, if you do the same things I'm doing. And it's a distorted experience of reality because the deceiver, the devil, if you will, the darkness that seeks to claim you is wreaking havoc in that consciousness, in that space, to distract you into believing that if you could just mitigate the rest of the exterior world, that you would come into a place of peace within yourself and you would finally feel safe. But that's not the truth at all. Because for those of us who are spiritually aware, we know that peace does not get created from outside of us. It first starts from within us. Mother Teresa knew that. She devoted her life to love and light in that way. And the impact that she had was massive without ever having to invest her time, attention, and energy in war. In fact, one of the things that Mother Teresa once said was that she would not participate in an anti-war rally. She said, give me a rally that is focused on love and not war, and I will participate. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, because divinity wants me to drive home this awareness that she knew in her spiritual core, that where we direct our attention and our energy will create the world that we exist in. and that there was this incredible power in a choice that just one individual could make to impact the world and help the world rise into existing in a better place of light and love. Right now, the old 3D consciousness very much experiences their world as strictly good or bad, very polarized. It's either or, it can't be both. And this is the trickery that often gets us trapped because the universe is not polarized, it is always both. For any of you who are familiar with the Tao and understand yin and yang as this vibration of harmony of opposites, you may already know that there's always a small speck of light existing in darkness and a small speck of darkness existing in light. And divinity wants me to reveal this to you today in case you are finding yourself wrestling with some of the old world ways, to help you remember that there is a choice that exists within you to find that light. And it does not exist in the denial of the discomfort that you're going through, but in the conviction and commitment to get curious about what you're going through, to discover why it might be occurring. Because the true why that God grants you is that you are being presented with that which your soul desires to experience. Many of us have a desire of somewhere we want to be. Even if we don't know it, sometimes we feel it. And sometimes the only thing we know is it's just not this place, right? That what I'm experiencing now just isn't enough. It's uncomfortable. It's full of lack. It's full of suffering. I don't want it anymore. And often the resistance of the discomfort we're going through, our inability to be curious in it, causes us to stay trapped in that cycle. Because we often forget that when we call on God and we ask for support in getting to a certain place in our lives, the thing that is often required is for us to build spiritual muscles on the path. And so I've said to many of my clients before that you keep looking for the path, but you don't realize you're already on it. You just don't like what you see right now. But what's happening in your life right now is meant to refine you. If you would be so willing to trust that the path that is unfolding is for you. And the answers are not always easy. Sometimes they are impossible and unbearable. I myself recently almost got trapped in the old world in a very serious way. And I will talk about this on another podcast, how this confusion can hook our attention to draw us into the distortion that may actually be inescapable for us. Because when we start to wrestle with the insanity, there is no way to create order and sense from a place that is distorted and incoherent. And for me, it was akin to a near-death experience where I was in this deepest consideration of abandoning the things that my soul knew and felt to be true, the thing I trusted that existed beyond this physical world. Because sometimes if we get hyperfixated on the physical world, what we're seeing is the pain. And what we want to do is run from that. And in order for me to continue to choose this path of service and connection to the divine and to serve all of you in this way, I needed to let go of the old 3D way of existing. And within that choice to step beyond, we often run into the truth that there are many people we love deeper than anything we can explain that are trapped in the old consciousness, that are too terrified to look within themselves to see the truth beyond the pain. And therefore, they will settle where they're at and not come along. And so what it meant for me and what it might mean for many of you who are sending on this path is that I had to lose people in my life by choice that matter more to me than anything. And the devastation was almost unbearable. The pain led me to a point of truly considering abandoning my path because the pain said, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe if I could just not evolve and I could not change, then I wouldn't have to lose these people that I love. And yet, if I chose to stay, to not lose those people that I love, what I would be losing and sacrificing is myself. So you and I have a choice on whether or not we will sacrifice what we know in our soul to be true, which there is a better way of being. There is a path that is leading us to peace. There is a change that, though uncomfortable, will help break generational patterns that have been cycling and creating suffering for hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands of years, even lifetimes. The truth is, you could sacrifice yourself to stay in the 3D world, but reinforcing the cycle does not help the person you love. Hiding what is bothering you, continuing to cover up the emotional wound to protect someone who loves you, who, quite frankly, would be better off if they understood how they were hurting you, because once they understand it, if they're willing to understand it, they can stop the cycle. But the pain and the darkness wants to lie to you, to tell you that if you just stay silent and you don't rock the boat, that it will be better. And I want you to ask yourself, who is it better for? It is not better for you. It is not better for the person who probably loves you and doesn't want to create that pain in the first place. It's probably a cycle of pain they experienced from the generation before them and before them and before them. And it's also not good for the next generation of souls who do not need to suffer at the same hands we have all suffered by. And so today, Divinity brings you into the awareness of what this 3D consciousness is, the knowing that you are not the problem, you are the solution. And to know that you are divinely supported in bringing the change. All that is required is for you to continue to have courage. As you continue to ascend on this path, it is imperative that you surround yourself with the right vibration of souls who are also doing the same work. Those are the souls that can truly empathize with what you're going through. They know what it means to have choices on the line that change everything. They know what it means to challenge everything you thought you believed in and to continue to persevere and believe in yourself beyond all things. They know the impossibility of what that experience feels like. And they also know that it is not impossible. I want to invite you to visit lauraahern.com and check out my community, Ianara. This is where you will find your soul family, the souls who are awakening to this new era, this self-guided way of being, to not only trust ourselves innately, but to raise our value and discover our inherent worth so that we become more free within ourselves than we've ever been before. Many of you listening, you need this kind of community. You need this kind of support. You need the people that don't look at you like you're crazy, that understand and love you unconditionally as you navigate what can be seemingly impossible within your own life, especially as you ascend into the higher consciousness, because that's what's happening. As we evolve out of 3D consciousness, we start to kind of straddle between this 3D and this 5D new world. And within that experience of what I call the 4D consciousness, this bridging realm, what happens is you start to become awakened to the understanding that there is something bigger at play here, that the world isn't exactly what you've been told it is, It's actually not starting to make sense to you in a lot of ways. It's why you've pulled off of the lie of that 3D world, of that black and white, of that suffering cycle. And within this 4D consciousness, you start to get this sense that we are all truly connected. Maybe you're into quantum physics and science like I am, where you're understanding that there's this entanglement of energy that happens not just within yourself or within your vibrational field of those who are in close proximity, but across space and time. That's why I can channel messages from the divine. And for many of you who have had a one-on-one call with me, you also know that I channel your loved ones who have passed on and transitioned. And they are as actively communicative as they were in person, sometimes more so, to help serve you on this path. So how can I do that? It's because we are all always connected. There is much more to life than this physical plane and what meets the eye. If you listen to the previous podcast, you know that you're starting to understand that you're not actually experiencing the world just with your eyes and what you think you see, but that your information is coming in through your heart and your feelings, that intuitive sensory area. You're feeling your life into being, which we will talk about in a future podcast of truly magnetizing and creating the things you desire in your life. This is your power. This is where you can leverage and co-create with the source that exists within you. And we all can sense things from outside our own immediate being. And in this 4D consciousness, we start to experience more of that kind of inkling that it's true. So yes, we're still experiencing some of this duality, of this polarization, but it's not as extensive. And we start to meet what we think is good or bad with less judgment and more compassion and understanding. There's a softness that starts to unfold, and we start to seek the deeper meaning of our experiences. And like many of you who have been through my meaning decoded program, you start to be the decider of your meaning. You start to be the determiner of your value. And what unveils itself to you is how invaluable you are and your contribution to this world just by being you. This is us warming up, traveling the path to the new world. And within this new world exists the 5D consciousness, which is where we are headed. And many of you who are sensitive like I am have already begun touching on this. If you have been touching on the plane that I am about to explain, I want to invite you into considering that you are spiritually gifted. You likely are meant to be of spiritual service to others, and that there might be a gift that you have that you've been hiding that it's time to start sharing. Within this 5D consciousness, it's about understanding the oneness of life and to start living from love instead of fear, where we get to start seeing life as an adventure, even when we're tripping over rocks and maybe we scraped our knee and things are uncomfortable. Even in the discomfort, we can recognize that it's part of our growth, and we can do it with compassion for ourselves, releasing the inner judge. And as you start to realize that there's purpose in everything, you will feel more held by God than you've maybe ever experienced until now. You will feel the safety. You will feel that you are being guided. And you will start to experience this overwhelming connection and love and compassion for life and the earth and the cosmos, knowing that we are all intimately and intrinsically connected in this web of energy. For you are energy. You've never been disconnected from the source. And as we evolve down this path, our intuition becomes incredibly strong. And we start to live in a level of abundance that we have maybe never experienced up until now. I share this with all of you to bring you into a deeper remembrance of where we're headed, because the path can feel hard, and not just hard, impossible, excruciating. It may want to convince us to step away, And usually it's that old, cycled, unconscious dialogue that keeps saying, it doesn't matter. What you share doesn't matter. What you do doesn't matter. It's been too long. You're too young. You're too old. Somebody else is already doing that. It's not special enough. Whatever that is keeping you stuck. I want to invite you into committing right now, as you are being held in this divine transmission, to say, I let it go. To say, I will let it die, the old way. And to truly invite and receive the inspiration and support that is calling you forth into this new world and this new way of being. How you experience your world will dictate what your reality is. What I hear divinity say is how you decipher your experiences depicts what comes next for you. They're pointing you back to your power here. They're wanting you to remember that you are actually creating your experience of this world through your consciousness, which is why they wanted me to help you understand the layers of conscious expansion that are at play right now. Because you might find yourself touching that 5D and feeling like you're slipping back into the 3D. Maybe someone of your past identity, they say, has sucked you into over-identifying with the old world of decay and suffering. Maybe you even feel like you're having a hard time convincing yourself otherwise, which is why we need a curated community and spiritual tribe behind us, beside us, to remind us that we are not what the old world tells us we are. Do not back down on walking your path. Divinity calls you into choosing what you're focusing on, choosing how you're interpreting your world, choosing to be the decider of your value, choosing to determine the meaning in your experiences, to use that beautiful imagination, that power of God that exists within you, to figure out the messages that Spirit is giving you and how this path currently is serving you to getting to the place you desire to be. And that's where they will leave you today. Thank you so much for being here again on this episode of Energy Linguist Podcast. I cannot wait to see you again for future episodes where divinity aims to bring you in to embracing more of your creator nature and to truly embodying the powerful spirit that you are. May you be blessed today and always. Namaste. Thank you for being here, for listening with your heart, and for opening to the truth meant just for you. If this transmission resonated, I invite you to visit lauraahern.com for free resources and sacred support to help you accelerate your awakening and walk your path with more power, trust, and grace. Until next time, trust what you feel, honor what you know, and believe in your power to create something greater than you've ever imagined.